Glad to welcome you back at Still Rise and Shine, and we're bringing you the part of the conversation. We have the special honor of welcoming. I feel like telling him Happy New Year because it's his first time here for the year 2024. Citizen Care, that's Matthew O'Connor, who is the president, Open Forum Foundation. Good morning, welcome to Rise and Shine.
Thank you very much. So good to be here
Good
after a
morning,
while.
Happy New Year.
Happy
New
Workers' Day.
Thank you. It's like I was there on the first, something like that.
I don't remember.
Yes, I just sent the New Year greetings, and I said I wanted to send a message to you. Please can you join us? No problem. Yes. I'm meeting Sandra for the first time.
Nice to meet you too.
I
How
didn't
you
know we
doing?
have Chinese.
Okay.
Bible.
I'm very Nigerian. I'm not,
Really?
Maybe
Great.
you need to reconsider
and I have a
citizenship.
new name, but then Francis gave me that,
Oh,
so
lovely.
I'm partly Akwa Ibom now.
Lovely. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you join us.
Yeah.
Let's go straight to Workers' Day. This is the day we amplify concerns by Nigerian workers. Federal government has announced increment in the consolidated salary structure and all of that. What's your thought on the situation of Nigerian workers, especially with the hardship we're currently facing?
Thank you for adding the word, the hardship we are currently facing. When you look at the Nigerian situation, you discover that we are indeed, without mincing words, some of the most tolerant set of humans on planet Earth. We are very religious, above to the level that I can say that we are spiritual people, which has helped a number of persons to take away responsibility of government and put it on the shoulders of God, virtually everything. And then the restiveness, which we only see in a particular section of the country having to do with their faith, and some say it's a cultural thing, unfortunately, is such that if the Nigerian workers, and indeed even Nigerians, were to react or respond to the level of suffering in the land, to the level of cluelessness over the years, Nigeria will have ended up like some countries. We saw what happened, was it in Tunisia, where just a cart pusher ignited a revolution. There have been several situations that will have ignited a violent revolution, but Nigerians have faith in their country. And they show this by the kind of patience and tolerance which has gotten to the point that we now discover that most leaders see citizens as being gullible, and they believe that they can do anything and get away with it. So looking at what even started, gave the idea of Workers' Day far back in the 18 something or thereabout, it was agitation for change. The agitation that you cannot go to work and work endlessly. So the 8-hour work per day agitation gave rise to the institution of Labor Day, which is May 1 today. And for me, it's an honor to be here to talk on a May Day. And it's also a May Day for me. That's why I just said I wouldn't do this visually, because you may not be aware, my brother, we call him Mr. Speaker, outside the studio here. Yes, I was on a hunger strike 7 days last year to advocate for justice for myself and for a number of traumatized people that brought their cases to our NGO. And I ended up, without the government then doing something about it. Tomorrow will mark 1 full year. So looking at the labor issue, the agitation yielded results. The 8-hour work per day became instituted. And that is what is applicable till now. And then the living wage, which we call minimum wage here, thank God our president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has said that he wants to give Nigerian workers living wage. They should hold on to that and demand for a living wage, but we must be real to ourselves. the workers have not been able to have the kind of leadership at the NLC, or call it even TUC level, who can be united to confront leaders, engage leaders constructively, and get results.
So what would you say the NLC has been doing? Because we all know that this conversation of the new minimum wage was championed by the NLC. But you're saying that we don't have unions that can engage the government constructively. What would you say the NLC has been doing?
Yes, most of the times, particularly this current administration, the NLC have gone to strike. They have done protests more than almost the two last administrations put together. And why? Because the suffering that came with this administration became so glaring that if you keep quiet, you die in silence. If you talk, you may even live. In fact, you have the chance of being alive if you say something. But their style of agitation, their style of demands falls short of the kind of standard that I, as a person, would adjust. You don't talk about palliative. You don't talk about salary increase. When you know that the Buhari administration took Nigeria from 12 trillion debt to 87 trillion within the life of the administration, the naira, the currency, was destroyed. And thank God you were x-raying the travails, not travails, the road to justice by Mefele, who yielded himself as a voluntary slave. And today, people are pretending as if he was the president. He was the one giving the directive and carrying out the directive. That is not true. It only makes us to look like people that are not civilized, to know that Emefiele was taking instructions. So the naira was destroyed. And the worst of it all, the foreign exchange system was also destroyed. To add to that, our only source of any foreign exchange, which is the sales of crude, was completely destroyed. At the point, we were only able to lift less than 1 million barrels per day, as against between 1.8, 2.3 million barrels per day that we are supposed to sell and be able to have revenue. And these people were so crude enough that they were selling, giving the oil ahead of time, getting money. They get the money and they were going to give oil till God knows when. So there is no sector in the country that survived the tsunami under the last administration. And Labour kept quiet. Labour kept quiet. So when the current president was sworn in, and unfortunately, highly unfortunately, and which he also admitted, on the podium on May 29, he said in France that a spirit possessed him, and he made that pronouncement: fuel subsidy is gone. No plan, no cabinet, no blueprint. Not just that. Floating of the naira. No plan, no arrangement. And here we are. And some persons will have the mind to want to defend that. You can't defend such a thing. So, what the Labour, seeing all those things, I have always been advising Labour, you get consultants. Imagine government getting consultants to come and work on agriculture. Imagine government getting consultants to get a master plan on some industrial formations they want to do, because they know that the civil servants cannot do it. So if you are a Labour leader, sincerely, you are even as powerful as the president of the country. Because the day you call workers, stay at home, they obey you because they know they are working for them. But when you don't have the kind of thinking capacity to be able to tell the current president, you made a mistake, and there is nothing you will say on earth that will erase that, because we are all living witnesses to what is going on. But there's a way out. What is the way out? We have discovered from the investigation by the House of Reps under the last administration, the NNPC was investigated, and it was discovered that the amount of crude stolen The custom controller was against it. The naval chief spoke out. And what did they say? The custom controller said the amount of crude and what they said, illegal fuel that are taken across the borders to sell is not true, because it will take about 530,000 or 60,000 capacity trucks to go out of Nigeria every day. And there's no border, there is no boundary of Nigeria that carries such traffic. So it's a lie that the consumption rate of a petroleum product that are imported got up to 90 million to 100 and something million. Pure fraud. The Comptroller General of Customs said it.
So
then the naval chief also said when they accost vessels with crude that they don't have document, is after they are caught, they will now signal, they will send document, which means the stealing crude was official, and the House of Reps have records. Agbono Yima, I think that is his name, I think it's from Delta State, the House of Reps one was the chairman, he's been speaking about it. So what do you advise Labour to do? Demand the probe, forensic probe of NNPC. You will recover trillions to revamp the economy. Talk less of the ministers who went wild, governors who went berserk, looting.
So in the midst of all of this,
Yes,
because the time is fast spent, maybe we'll have to bring you on another time. Because of the bad state of the road, you couldn't get here in time for this conversation to have lasted a lot longer. But just in 2 minutes, what would you propose we do at this point in time? Because we're talking about that we're not meeting our production quota, we are not having enough money in the country, but in the midst of that, we need to pay Nigerian workers a fair pay, and that's where the minimum wage conversation is coming from. And in the midst of this conversation, Joe Ajero, the NLC chairman or president, for instance, is embroiled in a political drama with the Labour Party. So where do we stand, and how do you propose we divert or navigate all of this?
it's very simple. We have to be true to ourselves. The reality is that what Mr. President called minimum wage was like doing campaign, trying to impress people that if I come, if you give me opportunity, I'll give you a living wage. I didn't expect Mr. President to say that, being the president. Why? Because the current state of Nigeria's economy cannot support a living wage. Because there's no living wage that will have anything less than 300 to 500,000 as minimum wage. I don't foresee that happening. If it happens even as a reality show, the private sector will collapse. There is no private employer, except maybe the oil companies, who also know how they get about making the kind of money they make and living large. There's no, in fact, your station will scale down the staff enough that any of you will be working and you may even resign on your own, say, I don't want the money, let me go and rest. Why? Because where do you get the money? Nigeria now cannot afford a living wage. That's the reality. 2, we cannot run Nigeria as presently structured. That's why I commend the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki. He is the first in the country to say, yes, the minimum wage, the negotiation has been on for so long, while waiting for federal government to come up with their minimum wage. The states are the federating units in Nigeria. He announced 70,000. For me, very realistic start. Though he made a caveat that if the federal government steps up, he is going to also step up. But people are saying it's political because he's going to an election that he is going to sweat blood. Blood, I said, he's going to really sweat like Christ. Yes, because what is going on there politically. So, generally speaking, Nigeria has to be restructured. States, as federating units, are supposed to determine how much they can pay their workers, because currently, the 30,000 minimum wage, some states are unable to pay. And I think one of those states, their governor, is on the panel, negotiating panel. It is laughable.
It's laughable indeed, but this is the much we can take on this conversation.
I'm thinking that we're going to have to make a room for Mr. Matthew tomorrow on Rise and Shine, because we still have lots of conversation, taking into consideration that even the 35% increase that the federal government has given to some the NLC has come against that and said, no, they don't want 35% increase, that they are insisting on the living wage, which you already said might not be achievable. So we have lots of conversations
to talk about.
But not tomorrow.
Maybe another day.
My week is filled period.
But definitely another day we'll
We
have
need
to
to
hold
have
this
this conversation.
I'll be glad to be here too.
All right, thank you so much, family, for being here. This has been the Much We Can Take on Rise and Shine. We appreciate you. On behalf of Sandra and myself, we wish you happy Workers' Day, happy new month, and God bless our days.